Hi, I'm Thomas Accardo, Product Manager at Industrial Defender. I'd like to show you one of the key features of the Industrial Defender Central Manager, the Asset Administration screen. This is the view of your asset inventory of record. Now, when I say inventory of record, what I mean is these are the assets a user validated and specifically identified as those which need to be monitored and tracked over time. The reason for this is you need a stable notion of assets, not only to effectively obtain and store the type of detailed configuration information we gather, but also to perform some of the higher level functions like baselining and policy adherence. Now, there's other ways to consider an asset inventory, and we have another view which we call the Provisional Assets screen. This is like the waiting room where potential assets sit for consideration as real assets. What you'll see here are those assets where Industrial Defender agents may have been installed on endpoints and are waiting for approval. You'll also see discovered assets which have been detected on the network by one of our collectors or by an integrated passive monitoring system. These provisional assets are real assets by some definition, but they may or may not be of interest. Many times provisional assets simply are different views of existing assets. Maybe it's through a different network interface or when multiple passive collectors see an overlap of monitored traffic. There could also be things outside of the network of interest or possibly transient assets which aren't part of the ongoing inventory of record. It's all potentially valid data, but provisional assets need to be vetted based on whatever criteria applies in your situation before becoming part of the actual inventory. In any case, back on the asset administration screen, we can see those assets which have been onboarded for monitoring and configuration management. In this view, we see the obvious characteristics like the asset name and IP address, even the OS type. But we also see a number of other bits of information that we call administrative properties. These are like metadata for assets which are either assigned by a person or they're imported from some other type of asset management system where this data already exists. These are asset characteristics which use the terminology of your situation rather than just a measured characteristic. So, for example, it would include like the region, the physical location, the region and location of an asset specified in your terminology, such as the data center or the Northeast plant. It might also include your operational criticality for the asset, whatever that means in your system. These are just a handful of the characteristics on this screen, but if you look here, we can actually see there's quite a few of them. And of course, you can add your own. So whatever you need, it's available there. There's also functional or operational information on this screen, like the communication status. We call it reachability. That's a communication status of an asset within the system, the last time data was collected and where it came from. We can also see insights into the other higher level functions of the system, like deviations from baseline or exceptions, calculated overall risk score for an asset, its life cycle status, whether or not it's retired, that sort of thing. And then, of course, we have a menu of actions that can apply to all of these assets, and this is what takes you to all the rest of the bits of the system for the other higher level functions. So this collection of data and these actions which can be applied to them are what make this screen the focal point of the asset management in Industrial Defender Central Manager.